Great. Sorry. Good morning. Great to see everyone here today at North Station. North Station, fabulous place. We have so many people coming in and out of here, not just for Bruins and Celtics games and concerts, but every day coming and going into the city for work, for appointments, and the like. It's really the whole hub for our entire Northeast region, and it's an important place, and that's why we wanted to come here today to make important announcements, and specifically to talk about the critical, foundational importance of public transit to our state, to our quality of life, and to the economy. I'm honored to be joined today by our Secretary of Transportation, Monica Tibbits-Nutt, our MBTA General Manager, Phil Eng, advocates including Jared Johnson of TransitMatters, MBTA and commuter rail employees. Thank you one and all for what you do day in and day out. I rode here today from Park Street on the Green Line, which I just want to remind folks is the first subway in America. And that's our legacy in Massachusetts. We pioneered public transportation. We were the leader. But for far too long, that legacy has been neglected. And we've all felt the results. Our quality of life suffered with slow trains and congested roads. And we risked falling short of the full potential in our economy. So today we're about changing that. We're about restoring our legacy. We're determined to lead once again with transit that makes life better, not worse, and that supports our state's role as an economic leader of the 21st century. That's the vision that we're about advancing, including in our most recently filed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The budget that we filed is fiscally responsible. Revenues are down, and so we have to manage our spending carefully. Any new investments we make have to be the highest priority, have to address our residents' most urgent needs. And that means making sure we make investments in safe, reliable, affordable transportation. So here is what we're proposing. First, we will be delivering an unprecedented, historic increase in state support for the day-to-day operations of the MBTA. That means safety and reliability. It means stations that are cleaner, more modern, more well-maintained. It means building on a record year of hiring new employees, the skilled and dedicated workers who keep and will keep the system operating as it should. Ultimately, it means more frequent trains and buses to get you where you need to go on time. When I was riding over, I was talking to a fellow named Rob who rides the number 1 bus. He used to ride the 77 out of Arlington, and he talked about how years ago, these buses used to run with far greater frequency. But because of the understaffing and the underinvestment in our and in our transportation system over several years, that hasn't been the case. And Rob's frustrated. He also appreciates, he said, what we're trying to do in making these needed changes and investments. But understand that I understand what people are experiencing out there day to day. Second, our budget invests in capital projects and deferred maintenance. That means the stuff that should have been done a long time ago, but wasn't. It includes $300 million for track repairs that target the slow zones that are so frustrating to so many. It also means new infrastructure. Third, we're investing in equity. Low-income riders on the T depend on public transportation more than anyone else. They have no other way to get around, and they've been hit hardest by the high costs across this economy. So our budget funds a system-wide reduced fare for low-income riders. These are folks that our economy depends on, frontline workers who cannot work from home. They deserve a break. We can deliver one, and that's what we put forward in our budget. Finally, I want to be clear that our budget invests in transit statewide. We need Massachusetts to have the best public transit system across the entire state. We're maintaining a high level of support for regional transit authorities, and we're proposing record support for local roads and bridges. All of this while ensuring a focus on each region, making sure we're equitable across the board. That includes dedicated funding for rural communities. This commitment goes beyond our budget, though. We're going to continue to chase federal funding with everything that we've got. We've already brought home $3 billion in just this first year of our administration from the federal government. That includes funding for Cape Cod bridges, funding for East-West Rail, and many, many more projects. But I promised people at the outset that we would do our part, Massachusetts, but we were going to make sure that we were getting the benefit of every single dollar of federal funding that we could, bringing it back to Massachusetts for investments that we need to make. By the way, we also recently hired the state's first West-East Rail director, which is a position that our budget funded last year. He's an experienced transportation planner. So we're closer than ever to true West-East and East-West passenger service from Pittsfield to Springfield to Worcester to Boston and back. That will also provide a long-term boost to our economy. I'm serious, and our administration is serious about making transportation work in this state. It's also why we created a transportation funding task force. It's a group of public and private leaders who understand the issues and who I know we can count on to help us chart the kind of course we need for sustainable transportation in the future. This is something that people have talked a lot about for a long, long time, but nobody's really taken it on. And we are. And I'm confident with the likes of the people that we're going to have around us on that task force, we're going to come up with recommendations that will keep us as a state from continuing to kick the can down the road. We're making it happen. We want to invest now through our budget and through the work that we're already underway in doing. We're planning a future where Massachusetts is again a leader. And with that, I want to turn the podium over to our Secretary of Transportation, who's doing a great job, Monica Tibbits-Nutt.
Thank you, Governor. As Governor Healey said, transportation has been a priority leading up to the election and as this administration has taken office. Their proposed FY25 budget makes it clear that transportation in Massachusetts needs to be resilient, equitable, and reliable. While the MBTA is a huge part of that investment, it includes $3 billion for all transportation modes. We have $150 million for our regional transit authorities. We have 15 RTAs serving over 270 municipalities. These are areas that have limited access to other transit options. These are environmental justice communities spread throughout the Commonwealth, and these RTAs have done amazing work during the pandemic, and we want to continue to invest in them. We are also seeing a major increase in Chapter 90 funding. It is an increase of 62% for a total of $324 million. These Chapter 90 funding goes straight to the municipalities. These are municipalities that need this funding. We are also looking at potential reform of how these Chapter 90 funds are shared, really focusing on our smallest and oftentimes our neediest communities. This is a really big step. As the governor has said, equity is a major, major focus of this administration and especially of our transportation policies. This new budget also allows MassDOT to continue the robust number of municipal grants. These include complete streets, shared streets, and spaces. These municipal programs are designed to aid our communities in building, maintaining, and most importantly, improving the safety of our roadways. Complete Streets provides assistance and funds for projects that prioritize safe and accessible travel for all of our roadway users, regardless of ability or age. Our Shared Street Spaces and program is designed to support quick build projects throughout the Commonwealth and support public health, safe mobility, and renewed commerce. During this fiscal year, we saw an addition of fair share dollars for overall transportation budget. On top of being able to deliver an additional $100 million in Chapter 90 funds, we are also looking to make significant investments in the MBTA and our regional transit authorities. Looking forward to the next budget, we will build on this while supporting the numerous initiatives and improving service, safety, and sustainability efforts throughout all of MassDOT. The budget that the governor, lieutenant governor, and their administration has proposed follows through on this promise of making transportation a priority. We will support that by continuing to work across secretariats in combating climate change, improving housing, fostering economic development, and positioning Massachusetts as a place where people want to live and work. We need a holistic approach to transportation that prioritizes equity across the Commonwealth, independent of what zip code you live in. We need to be working for every single person in the Commonwealth, whether we are talking from Cape Ann to Cape Cod, from the Berkshires to Boston. This is a whole of government and whole of Commonwealth initiative. Thank you all for being here today, and I will now hand it over to the General Manager, Philip Ing.
Thank you, Secretary. I want to express my sincere appreciation for the strong support from Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and Secretary Tibbits-Nutt. It has been instrumental, making a meaningful difference in our ability to begin rebuilding our workforce and our infrastructure, laying the foundation for a brighter future. The budget has allowed us to make important strides, historic hiring, and accelerating long-deferred work as we begin reversing years and years of disinvestment. We are focused on delivering improved service across all the communities that we serve, service that is reliable, safe, and less stressful to the riders, less stressful to make the riders the T's preferred option. The funding that the governor is proposing for the next fiscal year will allow us to continue to improve how we deliver for the public we serve and how we restore public trust in our ability to deliver. We have not seen this level of support in over a decade. I thank the governor for her leadership as we continue advancing critical priorities, building back service with shorter trip times, upgrading facilities, and ensuring proper and timely maintenance and repairs, improving communications with the public and allowing them to make informed decisions, and improving conditions, training, and tools for our frontline employees. The governor's budget demonstrates a deep commitment to transportation. A sound, well-functioning, and affordable transportation system facilitates economic vitality and quality of life. And currently, we're in the process of conducting public meetings on low-income fares. Truly excited for the first time for the T that will make mass transportation more affordable across the Commonwealth and across all of the modes. To those that will benefit, this is a real difference maker. The proposed budget will allow us to continue moving forward while we at the T continue to find new ways of doing business. It is our responsibility to find ways to deliver better service within our budget as we move forward through this budget process. But the vision is always true. I believe that to ask and secure more funding, we must continue to demonstrate a capability to use new resources wisely when provided, and that is what we're doing, as evidenced by all of the work we're doing, rebuilding our workforce to meet today's needs better and build for the future, accelerating critical infrastructure work and restoring improved service. Things such as Ashmont-Mattapan work that we've done on the Green Line and currently planned reopening of the Red Line from Alewife to Harvard on the 15th of this month. Accelerating and reopening the Lynn Station, 9 months ahead of schedule and millions under budget. And there's no one solution that will address every long-standing issue. But with this governor and this administration's continued commitment to transportation investments and our own commitment to sound management and service delivery, I'm confident that we can rebuild an MBTA that serves communities across the Commonwealth more reliably and equitably over time. We still have a long way to go, but we're making important progress in working towards that vision. I want again to express gratitude for the support and confidence as we continue improving MBTA service and rebuilding public trust. With that, I'll turn the mic over to Jared Johnson, Executive Director of TransitMatters.
Thank you, General Manager Ang. It's an honor to be here. Your leadership has marked an incredible shift in the agency's trajectory. I want to thank Governor Healey for bringing someone with the experience, tenacity, and creativity to do big, bold things quickly, such as you mentioned, slashing the time it took to open that emergency platform at Lynn, giving riders faith that the diversions will deliver safer, faster journeys, and reversing the trend in bus operators and actually bringing on more bus operators so that we can expand service. Governor Healey's budget is a great down payment on rebuilding the MBTA's capacity, both on fixing critical infrastructure and delivering more service. This important increase to the operating budget helps to avoid dire service cuts. I also want to thank the governor for making low-income fares a reality after a nearly 10-year fight led by dozens of grassroots groups and hundreds of low-income riders sharing their experience. We need to build on these efforts and identify the revenues needed to bring this system into not just a state of good repair, but into the world-class system that riders deserve and that the region needs. While the most urgent repairs are the priority in the short term, we cannot make a choice between the state of good repair and the modernization that is needed to help this region grow and improve the quality of life for millions. To this point, if we want to ease congestion on our highways, the T needs the resources to provide reliable service that makes all kinds of trips much more convenient. Statewide issues like housing and the MBTA Communities Act, regional fairness, economic competitiveness, and addressing climate change depend on a strong transportation system. And as the Secretary said, across the entire Commonwealth. Public transit connects people to jobs, education, healthcare, as well as friends and family. Transit is vital, whether we're talking about low-income folks, people with disabilities, youth, and older adults who often rely on transit. But transit is also vital when we're talking about people who are deciding between our region or other global hubs with strong transit systems. A strong public transit system love it. There you go, right? Public transit at work, you love it. A strong public transit system is a must-have for a strong Commonwealth and for a robust economy that lifts everyone up. This kind of system will support jobs across the state, from Springfield to Somerville, provide high-quality transit access to people living outside of the metro by continuing to fund and strengthen our regional transit authorities. It will finish long-delayed transit projects that will make the MBTA function better, bring clean energy vehicles that decrease pollution into our communities. Such a public transportation system is possible, but only if we properly fund public transportation. The lack of sustainable long-term funding hurts the ability of public transit to operate, plan, or build efficiently. And so I hope that the recently announced task force will give us some of those options to help us fully fund public transit. Governor Healey, with the team you've assembled, led by Secretary Tibbits-Nutt and General Manager Ang, I'm confident that we are on that path. But the backlog of repairs and the ability to build a transportation system for the future, as well as the current reliability and affordability of the T, needs leadership from all levels of government. And so I believe that we will get there and we will make those investments and deliver this transportation system that the Commonwealth needs. So I'll turn it back to you, and thank you for including us in this conversation.
Thank you so much, Jared, and I want to thank you and TransitMatters and all of the advocates who've been giving voice to the frustration of so many riders for so many, many years. And, you know, I too, Jared, share your confidence in our leadership team with Secretary Tibbits-Nutt, General Manager Ang, and the team that they've assembled, the team that they built on here many men and women, some of whom I had the pleasure of interacting with today, who put in years of service with the T and with the commuter rail, and I'm really grateful. And obviously, we went on a big hiring campaign earlier this year because, part of the issue is not just not enough dollars going into the system, so severe underinvestment over the years, but also not having enough workers. And that's one thing this administration knows. If you don't have the workers, you're not going to be able to get to where you need to be. And so I want to thank those old and new on the team for the work they're doing, and know that this team collectively is focused on one thing, and that is how do we, as quickly as possible, deliver safe, reliable, and affordable public transit for Massachusetts. That is what we are focused on every single day. I thank Phil, who's also brought in a new management team. A lot's happened in just the last several months, and that's why as we enter year 2 of this administration and we file this budget, we want to be really clear about our priorities and about the unprecedented amounts that we're putting forward towards funding for our public transit. It's imperative to the quality of life for residents here. It's imperative to our economy. With that, I'm happy to take some questions on topic. I'm so sorry. Do you mind? No, it's good. The trains are moving. Good. Well, I think what we're trying to underscore, there are two things that are really, really key, in my view, to the economic well-being and growth of the state. Housing, which you've heard me talk a lot about, and transportation. And so we're going to continue to focus on that. We look forward to discussions with the legislature about our budget. But I know that ensuring that we have a public transit system that is safe and reliable and affordable is key. It's key to the quality of life for our residents. It's key to our businesses and employers. It's key to our overall economic growth and well-being here in the state. And yes, things are a little leaner. The money that we had through the federal government, ARPA, all the COVID funding, yeah, that's gone away. But what does that mean? It just means that we need to be smarter and more strategic in the investments that we make. And I think that that's what we've got with a team assembled here, with the team of stakeholders who we have actively, I don't know that administration has ever before engaged as many people in terms of putting together the best and the brightest minds from all over on what we need to do to drive forward and accomplish something that is so critical to the well-being of the state. And I look forward to that work. Well, I think that one of the reasons that we're putting forward this task force and thinking specifically about financing of transportation is we know that transportation is so important, and I'm going to wait to see what the task force comes to me with in terms of recommendations. But, as I say, I'm confident that we will have the very best and the brightest around the table thinking through what our infrastructure now demands, what infrastructure of the 21st century should look like. And I look forward to the work that they're going to do. And I thank them for the work that they're going to do as quickly as possible, because this is so, so important to the state. I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals until I see things, Taylor. But what I'll say is that I think as governor, I have not been afraid to take this head on. And I'm not going to be, and this administration is not going to be about kicking the can down the road, which frankly is what has happened for far too long. Years, decades, right? And it's why we're in the hole that we have been in, that we're digging out of. And again, I want to thank the teams. As Phil said, not for nothing, things have been happening in any number of instances on time and under budget. Credit to the workers, credit to the team, credit to the management. Is there more work to do? Absolutely, right? We have services that are shut down right now because we're making repairs to address the slow zones, which I promised we were going to have done this year. I just know how important this is to the quality of life and to our future as a state. And I look forward to what will be continued hard work ahead, but I'm confident that we have the team to do it. Yeah, sorry.
Policy question. You're in support, you're providing funding for a low-income fare. The Mayor of Boston would like to see fares eliminated, but at least on buses. Do you think that's a wise move to eliminate fares on buses, or is your way the right way?
I think it's just about the dollars, Bruce, right? What can we afford? And I saw that the mayor is going to continue with the program using some ARPA funding that is available. I think that's great. I support that. I think the question is, what can you do statewide? And when you sit in our shoes, you have to look at the reality of the operating budget and where revenue sits within that in terms of fares. And so I'm proud of the proposal that Secretary Tibbits-Nutt has put forward in terms of a look. I think for the first time, this will be a statewide look to make sure we have equity across the board, to look at our low-income riders who we know are oftentimes the ones we saw through COVID, the most vulnerable, the most susceptible, the most essential to some of the workforce needs, and also the ones who are least able to withstand what we've seen in terms of higher costs of living. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Is it the only approach? No, but I think it's the one that we believe will cover the most people, do the most good in terms of helping the greatest number of riders, increasing ridership or the availability of ridership for others. And I want to make sure that our secretary has a moment to comment as well.
As the governor said, we are taking this on in a way that no one has before. This Transportation Finance Committee, this is really looking at how we engage people who have not been at the table around this. I definitely understand where Mayor Wu's coming from. I've been pushing for a low-income fare since 2015. But if we keep just saying, oh, well, we're going to intervene with this piece, this piece, this piece, we're never actually going to solve this issue long-term. And that's what we're looking at right now. We are going to be convening before the end of this month, and we are going to be talking about all of the options. But at this point, if we had the answer, we would have already used it to help fund the T.
Last question, please. Great, thank you. Well, I hear you, and that's why we put forward over $250 million in our budget for operations, for operating assistance, which is a significant increase from last year. It's why there's an additional $60 million proposed in pay-as-you-go capital, $250 million in fair share. Remember, this is now the first time where we're going to be able to really make sure that additional revenue that's coming in through fair share is used in the way that voters intended, including for important transportation investments. And we're also going to look to use that money to expand our capacity to borrow, right? Remember, we have a great bond rating as a state, and this will help us expand our borrowing capacity to the tune of, we believe, maybe $1.1 billion to make additional investments. So that, coupled with another $300 million for track improvement, which we know is really essential. These things taken together are just a look at what we're looking to do in this year alone. But our commitment to this is lasting, and it's something that we want to see through. Okay. Thank you.